I'd like to make just a couple of introductions. This morning we have Maya Ray from the Department of Transportation, the Federal Transit Administration with us from Washington, D.C., the Office of Planning and Environment, and Catherine O'Brien, the Environmental Manager with our project office.
The milestone here for this study was really the court order in January 27th of this year that had indicated that there was a requirement to do additional analysis of the impact of the project during construction, particularly on its impacts to businesses along the corridor, to the revenues of those businesses. The supplemental environmental assessment was published on March 1st, 2011, earlier this month. There's a 30-day public comment period that ends on March 31st. And after that time, we'll be responding to all public comments received. So all of your testimony here today will be recorded, and then responses would come after March 31st, responses from the Federal Transit Administration and the Met Council. The Business Impacts and Environmental Assessment did specifically look at potential impacts on business revenues. It looked at those impacts that might be occurring during construction and what potential mitigation measures would be required to address those impacts.
We'd ask that people limit their scope of their comments to the business impact supplemental environmental assessment rather than topics just in general.
My name is James Siegel with Axeman Surplus, 1639 University Avenue. You cannot take, there are projects that are similar to this that were not provided in this report. So the fact that this product is deficient is obvious. The inability for the businesses to plan with the unknowns alone and the amount of time that we spent dealing with things like this is just another example that wasn't reported, how much time business owners spent worrying about the issues in here. Again, unknown timeframes for lane closures. I don't know the facts surrounding the potential benefits of light rail, but I do know about the the measures that aren't being taken to help improve the adverse impacts. There are going to be permanent changes to people's driving patterns and parking patterns. As an example, Milburn Clothing on University Avenue is going to lose their access on Aldine because Aldine is going to become a right turn in, right turn out only. Those are permanent changes that were not discussed in this document. I have 20 years experience operating businesses in St. Paul successfully. My current business is over 45 years old and has operated successfully on this avenue. I don't think that the businesses it wasn't discussed with businesses. There's no information in this product about the fact that lower town businesses lost revenue between 30 and 60% of their sales. So the reality is that if the judge requires you to do this outreach, provide a product that's appropriate. Make it something that makes sense. Don't tell businesses that the numbers don't make sense. Potential for 67 businesses to be affected negatively. It's shameful, and I believe that you need to do a better job.
My name's Mike Baca. I represent Impressive Print. It's a business on the avenue. We've been on the avenue for 17 years. Small business, commercial business. And the concerns are going to be somewhat repetitive here. The things we're concerned about, I'm going to simplify mine. I didn't prepare a speech because I thought these were going to be individual interviews. The big problems are parking, the major loss of parking. Right now there's no good plan to replace any of it. The city has come out, the Met Council came out and said, you're going to lose your parking. There were plans in place to create pocket parking about a year and a half ago. Now that's gone to, we're going to just manage existing parking. There's currently not enough existing parking to be able to make that even work at all. So it's going to turn into problems right off the bat. Secondly, the mitigation fund. We don't need mitigation, we need compensation. This is going to destroy businesses. There are a lot of small businesses. This 1993 project in Texas doesn't even equate to the way this project is being built. Use that as an example is just, to me, more of a throwaway or trying to ramrod this through to get the money, and it wasn't handled properly. It needs to be handled properly. There are already examples of businesses that have been affected in Lower Town, and there goes the microphone. And there's no good compensation fund. Who wants a $10,000 loan when you're losing 30, 60% of your revenue? That's not gonna do anything. I just paid my health insurance check for $10,000 for a quarter. That covers a summer. $10,000 is not gonna do anything to help anybody. There needs to be a comprehensive compensation fund. And lastly, the displacing activity that this is causing. There are a lot of commercial businesses that are gonna need to move. We're not gonna be able to afford the taxes. We can't afford getting trucks in and out. I just had to hire another employee to drive because my customers aren't gonna be coming to my business. So I've got a whole nother employee now that I've had to employ because of this project to deliver our goods. We have to move. We cannot stay on the avenue. I think the federal government needs to say this is a displacing activity so the businesses that are viable and can move have an opportunity and have relocation funds to get them off the avenue so it can be developed properly. And that's about it. I don't think it's been handled well at all to this point. I don't think these studies are done well as far as signage for the businesses. Met Council a month ago put out, hey, we're putting up signs that say Shop University Avenue. Construction starts, they're gone. But they use that as a winner and as an example of how they're helping us, and that's not helping us. Thank you.
My name is Tim Holden. I'm the property owner and the business owner at 1607 University, and I thank everybody that's here today. I really appreciate the fact that the few people that have come are here. Businesses up and down the avenue are going to be out of business. They're going to go out of business completely because there's no funding available. And I just want to start from giving these things out real quickly, if I may. So please hold on. Good morning again. Tim Holden, 1607 University, property owner, business owner, resident of the St. Paul Midway area. I want to say thank you to everybody that's here today. And I want to bring a couple things to light. Central Corridor, I hope, is going to be a benefit down the road when it's all said and done. However, planning has not been done correctly, period. We should not be here talking about what we're talking about today. This should have been done in advance. Not only are the funds not in place yet for this project, for sure, but we're not accounted for. The businesses up and down the avenue have not been accounted for. I've personally sent emails, requests to the mayor, Chris Coleman, Governor Dayton, Amy Klobuchar, Betty McCollum, all my personal representatives. These are the people that should be here today listening to us. Okay? We're not here for the fun of it. Unlike the folks up there sitting at the table up in front, they're being paid. I'm a business owner. I'm not getting a nickel. I'm losing money right now. Shame on the system, the way this was put together. If you're going to do a job, do the job right or don't do it at all. Bottom line. Parking up and down University Avenue. This is the storefront that I have. If you can zoom up on this, this would be wonderful to see. Parking since March 7th has completely been taken away. I have no parking, none, zero. I have no handicap parking, none, zero. As far as I'm concerned, taking away the parking has basically rendered at least 3 properties directly west of Snelling University completely uninhabitable. Does that make sense to you? I have a lot at stake. This is my livelihood. I again appreciate you being here. I hope that the ruling by Donovan, Judge Donovan, renders something that's going to be of some respectful measure for the businesses. We put our heart and souls into our jobs every day. And, you know, to have this come along and disrupt everything completely is not the way it should be. And I honestly would like to see the light rail happen, but it needs to be done correctly, and the planning should have been done long ago. The funds should be in place. If they're not in place, like I say, don't do the job. The fact that the parking was lost on March 7th, I've been in contact and communications with the city of St. Paul for months regarding this lost parking. For months. It's not something that just happened all of a sudden. This is something that was known was going to happen. It was planned. I asked Craig Blakely personally if I should go out and make my own parking signs. He said, no, don't make your own parking signs, Tim. We'll take care of that for you. I don't see one parking sign on the street directing people where to go. My customers are confused. They don't know where to park. If you read the letter I've given you all today, I put that together this morning. Again, I'm a small business owner. I don't have time to sit and come and deal with this stuff on a daily basis. I'm not getting paid to do this. I sure would like to see the public officials that we've elected to be involved more than they have been. I personally, and with my businesses, to date, today is the 16th, I have lost over $7,300 to date. That's 16 days, $7,300. Okay? If I have to do the math and explain how much it's going to be over the course of the 3 years, I can do that, but I don't think I need to. I've even been in contact with Susan Haig. She's texted me back and forth and talked to me, and I understand that she's not here today. She's the new Met Council chair. I would expect her to be here to listen to this kind of feedback. She's not here. She's on vacation. I can't afford vacation. I have to take Tylenol to deal with this. I'm sorry if I come across rather aggressive and abrupt, but this is how I feel. I pay my taxes, I get up and I go to work every day, I try to put food on the table for my family, and the bottom line is, I'm asking for my people that I elect to be here to look out for me and take care of me as far as a citizen of the city of St. Paul. Thank you all for your time. Everybody that's here, I appreciate you being here. But again, if it doesn't get done correctly, the planning isn't there, and if this funding doesn't get put in place to help the businesses, the project should not move forward. Bottom line. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Diane Pietro. I own the Twin Cities Photography Group. We're located at 2500 University Avenue. I'm relatively a new business here on University Avenue. We opened our doors last May. So I am not as up to date with your reports of what was supposed to happen. I came into this area because I felt we were a business that was a destination, and I have over 1,400 people in my business already. So I felt I wouldn't be impacted. After the last 2 months, I realized how horrible you guys are handling this. And I am going to be fighting you all the way, and I can guarantee you the next time I meet you guys, I will be well informed of what you're doing, and I'm going to try to stop you in every single way. Since February 14th, the construction crew has come to University Avenue and has blocked off both entrances to my building. My customers could not get in. Both sidewalks were closed down. I dealt with that by fighting with the construction crews to move their sidewalk closed signs away from my door so my customers can get in. In the middle of February, they came around and they took away all the off-street parking. As a business owner, I cannot park in front of my place. I have nowhere to park for more than 2 hours. So I have to constantly keep moving my car and hoping I don't get a parking ticket. Because according to the rules of the state, even if I move my car, I'm still in the same area and I'm still subject to a parking ticket. I've already gotten 2 of them. So I hope you guys are going to compensate me on every time I get a parking ticket now too. Then, on top of that, about 3 weeks ago, 2 gentlemen walked into my business and decided they're going to put a water pipe through the middle of my corridor. They did not identify themselves. They started ripping up the floor. I walked out to my hall and asked them who they were. We're from the state, they said. I said, well, where's the business owner here, the building owner, what's going on? Well, we're here to put in a water pipe. I said, well, I spent 3 months renovating the hall you're now ripping apart. Who's going to put it back together? Not our job, I was told. Okay? They ripped up the floor, they broke a few props that we had, they pushed things away. Since that time, I have been subjected to a bunch of your people coming through my business, unannounced, unidentified, just walking in like they own the place. The last one was 2 days ago, where he walked in on a telephone and was talking to someone trying to find the pipes that they're going to be laying. I asked him several times who he was. He ignored me as he walked through my space. I don't understand how you can treat business owners this way. I will be fighting you every single point here. I have 1,400 members. In January, every single workshop that we've done had a wait list to it and was sold out. In February, my workshops were 50% filled. I opened my doors September 22nd after renovating for 7 months. Since September to January, I was gaining about 6 or 7 paying members to my studio. February, when your crew came through, I'm down to gaining 2 members a month now. This month, I've gained nobody because the word is out that the construction has ruined our studio. I'm wondering how you're going to compensate me now. I've put over $10,000 worth of renovations into my space. Are you going to give me all that money back and tell me I can move somewhere safe where you people are not going to be coming through? My customers feel violated. They do photo shoots, and we have construction men coming through as people are doing personal photo shoots, just walking right past the photographers and my customers. How would you feel if your family's getting photographed and several strangers walk through and scare your children and everything else? This is what I'm dealing with every day. I don't know when you're coming back to 2500 University Avenue, but I can guarantee you I'll be fighting you on it. The parking, I was told, was taken away because it wasn't the state that did it, the transit system did it because they wanted the transit construction people not to be parking in the area. So they put up 2-hour signs of parking everywhere down Fallon and all the other areas. So you're telling me because you can't tell your construction crews where to park, you have to take away parking spaces from businesses? How unorganized is this? The university, the U of M came in telling us that they're looking at the buildings and trying to give you an alternative plan that would be more cost effective. They told us that as they were getting into it and starting to fight you, you guys started taking all the plans off the internet so they can't research it anymore. So now you're hiding information from us because you realize that we're starting to get smart and say, hey, what's going on here? Let's start getting together and talk about it. How do you do that? This was supposed to be working with us. It seems that all you're doing is taking information away and coming in and telling us we don't need to know. You have now created a health problem in my hallway. I had hired people to seal the floor where your pipes are because the condensation was getting people sick. I told them, well, when you redo the pipes, are you going to seal it back up? They told me, no, that's my problem. I have to take care of it. The state doesn't do that. So I'm going to have to pay again to clean up the mess that you guys done. And then I found there was an alternative to doing these water pipes then in my hallway around the building, but that would have cost the city a little too much money. So they decided to just go through my space. So I really would like to know who I need to talk to about these decisions and where are they being made, because I have a lot of complaining to do and I am going to be back. So thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jack McCann, McCann. I am the president of the University Avenue Betterment Association, also known as the Business Association. My family moved onto the Avenue, renovating our first project on University in 1988. We own about 500 feet of University Avenue near Raymond Avenue. In my role as the president of UABA over the past couple of years, I have, in my role, been responsible for chairing meetings, discussing the issues with many of our members, attending many meetings. I was on the Station Area Steering Committee. It's unfortunate that we're here today, finally having something written down to make it official. I don't know where all the comments are that have been brought up to this point. They don't appear to have been paid proper attention to. It's brought a terrible amount of frustration to the businesses in the area. It seems as though there is a level of incompetence or just indifference to the rhetoric brought forth by the business owners. They aren't lying. This is a serious matter. This is their lives, their livelihood, their investment. When we came to the Avenue, it was based on risk. You choose a location to start a business because of the amenities it offers. The amenities of University Avenue have always been great. We're in the middle of a metropolitan area. We have access coming from every direction. The notoriety of the Avenue, the vitality of the Avenue, all are positive things. So when you start to look at, and I'm going to stick to the facts, this is the negative impacts is what we're talking about, the economic impact that is going to adversely affect the businesses up and down the Avenue. Let's start with access. The access, number one, we've had public transportation for a long time. The 16A is a marvelous bus line. I think it's one of the best ones in the Twin Cities, and you could probably verify that dollar-wise. It stops at every block. Whenever you want it to stop, it stops. That has been enjoyed by a lot of people. That bus can pull over in a parking lane currently. When this project is completed, that bus is going to stop in a lane of traffic. That's not a good thing. That's a negative. So we're going to keep track of the negatives. After the bus access, you have access just to come to the area. That is going to be really depleted during this construction. Doesn't matter how many signs you put up. Doesn't matter what you do for marketing, how much you want to say businesses are open, come to the Avenue. When the traffic fellow in the afternoon says the traffic on University Avenue is horrendous, avoid the area at all costs, that is a negative. That doesn't help us. And honestly, the hassle factor, we all know what it is. Let's not kid ourselves. You're not going to bring people to the Avenue who just don't want to deal with it. So that is a negative, and that has to be part of this report as well. The parking, which over the past 2 years, every time we brought up the word parking in any of our meetings, that was the end of the meeting. It was nothing but a complaint session after that. This is a real thing. People have been starting businesses, running businesses, applying for permits, applying for licenses, and through the City of St. Paul, I've done many site plan reviews. That on-street parking is a factor. They take that into consideration. So if that goes away, that's a negative. What people are expected to do when they rely solely on the on-street parking has been poorly addressed. The City of St. Paul seems to have been dropped on their lap. The Central Corridor Project Office and Met Council have not addressed it. They simply say we're going to put this project in from curb to curb, from storefront to storefront. The City of St. Paul, whether inadequately supplied with dollars seems to be the problem, are not looking to replace any of that parking. That is a huge, huge access problem. We have at UABA continually expressed we need to have that replaced. We've asked for mitigation compensation money. That money, that type of financial setup could be completely or extremely diminished if we could replace the parking. And we've stated this in many letters, and we've backed it up with visitors from other corridor systems. The people move here. We've built buildings here. and the parking has always been an issue. If it wasn't an issue, it wouldn't be part of the site plan review, it wouldn't be part of the licensing review. If that parking was replaced and these people could actually base their access that, yes, there's a parking lot near my building, near my front door, they wouldn't need the compensation that we're asking for. That would go a long ways to handling a large portion of the impact. It's been disregarded. There's been no pressure from the Met Council to do anything. There's been no pressure from the counties or this to help the city out, and the city has completely denied that they're going to do anything. License plate recognition and hassling people in the first 150, 200 feet to move their cars more often is not a positive. That doesn't go into a positive column. We're still on the fact that this is a negative. More negative impacts. The construction. Obviously, a construction project is negative. Anytime they resurface your street, it's negative. This is a major infrastructure project, an entire rebuilding of a very narrow corridor. It is not comparable to anything that we've seen brought up by different entities claiming it's comparable. It's not. This is a massive reconstruction project. That is more of a negative impact than most things that have been brought up. And if you continually to compare to other projects, the insult that doesn't work with the businesses. It creates an animosity. That makes it so your jobs are harder with us. That's a big negative, whether you see it or not. People are just mistrusting the Central Corridor, mistrusting the Met Council. There's a sense that you're just incompetent and that it can't be done right. I mean, it's nothing personal, but these people are depending on their livelihood, their jobs, their businesses, and they don't have the confidence to stick around. None of these programs that we've asked for have been set up, so therefore people are not taking the risks that they want to take. They are not re-signing leases. They're not. In my business, for instance, I'm not a retail. I don't work out with that plan that was that assessment. My negative impact are people coming to me saying, "We want to buck off of our rent for this year, next year." That's thousands of dollars. Now that equates to everybody up and down the avenue. Okay? If I go down $1, the guy next to me goes down $1, the guy next to him goes down $1, the vitality starts to be lowered throughout the whole area. The dollar per foot continues to lower. Now, the property values in this economy have continued to rise because we're going to be blessed with this light rail system. It didn't happen until 2014, yet we're paying increases now and have been for a couple of years. You take that and equate that to 2014, that's 5 or 6 years of increased property taxes.
Can we ask you to kind of wrap up in the next minute?
Yeah, I thought maybe because I represented all the businesses, I might have a little more time. The other impacts that are going to happen, that are happening, people are tending to stick to during construction. Construction remains until this train runs, and the visitors and the customers that are going to arrive on these trains with pockets loaded down with money isn't going to happen until 2014. So I'm really disappointed that we're focusing so much on construction being 1 year. This is until the train runs, because that's the vitality we were promised that was going to make this avenue better than it was before. We have public transportation already. So we're not bringing anything new to the table. We're bringing an idea to the table, and that doesn't equate to the dollars that we need to see. I've got more. I'm sure it's going to be. Covered. We've got plenty of written statements that we're going to be giving as well. I appreciate the time. I'm very disappointed that I'm sitting here doing this again because of the hours and hours and hours I spent talking to people, and I recognize all the faces. You've all heard it. How did this not get evaluated prior to this is beyond me. I cannot understand it. Thanks for your time. I'm sure you don't appreciate people sitting up here just barking at you, but this is life. I mean, if I lose enough business, my mortgage company says, no, we're not gonna continue to work with you. And then they start foreclosure things. You talk about an $11 million investment that my family's got in this avenue so far. Nothing from the public. It's all private investment. We wanted to be here. And we're very disappointed that the amenities that we came here for are being diminished. And that's a negative. We need more positives, and we haven't been shown any positives so far. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Steve Bernick, and it's spelled B-E-R-N-I-C-K. I am an owner of Milburn Clothing Company, 1685 University Avenue. We also own the building at 1685 University Avenue and 1695, which houses Campa Tire Firestone. We've been on the avenue as a family-owned business, third generation, for 60 years. First in the Griggs Midway building, and then we purchased the property in 1685. This whole project is, let me just start by saying that I'm not against light rail. The problem is the way it's being done and being handled. And we've been going to these meetings ever since the public hearing started 4 years ago. It's been the same type of thing. We've expressed our concerns and our problems, and nothing's been addressed. And then to have the environmental impact study come out and say that there's going to be 0 to 2.5% impact on sales is just ridiculous. We just made it through a recession, and we're fighting, and to say that we're only going to lose 2.5% is just, you just can't, it's unfathomable. What we're looking at, in our estimation, being a business owner for over 60 years, is we're predicting anywhere from 20 to 30% reduction in revenue. If we take that $10,000 loan that's being offered to us, and you do the math on it, if you take 365 days a year of the construction period, which is approximately 250 days, you're looking at maybe $10 a day help. And that doesn't go very far today in a business. We employ 14 people, and Firestone, which is one of our tenants, employs about 18 people. And we're actually looking and entertaining the option of looking for another location off the avenue, because we are very concerned that our customers will no longer be able to get to us. As Jim had mentioned earlier, and this is brand new because the plans keep changing, I was guaranteed by Rita Rodriguez a long time ago that Aldine would be a through street and that the stoplight would remain there. And now all the plans are changing, and Dan Solom and things are changing, and it's going to be right turn only on Aldine. Now, what happens in that particular case to my business is everybody coming to my business from the west will have to go down to Fry, make a U-turn, which is going to be a problem because U-turns, you know, are very dangerous, and come back to me, okay? And that's 50% of my business comes from Minneapolis. Okay, so now we've created a problem for my customers. Access is a problem. You know, we are fortunate we do have some off-street parking. You know, I feel for all the people who have no off-street parking, because there is going to be no parking, and that's going to be a major problem. But my access is way down, and so I'm asking to reevaluate the compensation that businesses get. If we can prove with you've asked us to keep records and things like that so that we can prove, say, this changed. You know, why are our sales down 25% from the time of construction? That we are compensated for that. You know, we have to work together. And that's all I have to say.
My name is Donald R. Dickerson. I live in Roseville. I'm a parent of 4 children at school in the Frogtown area. And I'm here to voice my opposition to the light rail corridor. Though it may feel good, sound good, these businesses are struggling at this time, and I only believe that only a select few will benefit from this corridor. we have a budget, state budget of over $30 billion with a population of 5 million. We already addressed that this light rail is not sustainable, yet alone the subsidies that we want to dangle over the business owners in hopes of compensation for their imposition, not to mention, you know, the customers to these businesses. We're in tough economic times, and we do not need to be creating this extra burden. It's not sustainable. It will be an extra added budgetary burden that the whole population of this fine state will have to shoulder. And I think that we need to be a little more fiscally responsible. I thank you for your time, and I thank you all the business owners that are here to voice their concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dickerson.
So again, I'm here representing U7, University Avenue Business Preparation Collaborative, and my name is Marilyn Porter. U7 believes strongly there is a two-part equation required to achieve the best possible results for the small ethnic and mom-and-pop businesses that line this corridor by the hundreds and which make up the face, the economic heart, and social vitality of our communities. Point one, preparation by each business owner with help from U7 and other business support providers is critical. Careful financial planning, expanding a customer base, and increasing sales through more effective marketing before LRT and other improvements could create financial reserves prior to an expected drop in sales and the ability to reach customers and generate sales even during construction. Point two, additional solutions by Metropolitan Council and other government entities are necessary. The parking loss, decreased customer access, and predicted loss of sales during and after construction may, in some cases, be so extreme that no level of preparation from the businesses alone can overcome this damage. Therefore, additional well-designed, well-funded, and well-implemented corridor-wide solutions by Metropolitan Council and other government entities are necessary to help offset the impacts of LRT. The impact of the construction of the LRT will be so widespread that it requires this mutually reinforcing two-part equation to obtain the vision articulated by all leaders and members of our community. The LRT will enhance the communities and small businesses along the avenue rather than damage them beyond repair. While there has been a great deal of work done on both fronts, and we do realize this, U7 believes more is required to ensure that our shared vision is achieved. We are committed to working with all parties to keep pushing together to reach this goal. And this encompasses a position statement for U7 leadership. Thank you.
My name is Frank Lorenz. I live in western suburbs of Minneapolis. My business property is in Minneapolis. When Central Corridor starts operating, my property taxes from the county are going to go up by some unknown amount of money because of the operating losses.
I'm going to ask you to give the address of your business if you could.
York Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. No one can know for sure whether the ridership on Central Corridor is going to be anything like the good result on the Hiawatha line or the terrible result on North Star commuter rail. But what we should glean from those differences is the fact that the consultants that you're hiring to make estimates of ridership are, shall we say, defective. They underestimated ridership on Hiawatha by 40%, so that's a plus, but they overestimated it on North Star by 50%. So when you hire people to come back and say that these businesses are only going to lose 0 to 2.5%, nobody in their right mind believes you. What you're doing is hiring talking heads. You tell them the result that you want, and then they play it back for you. So nobody believes that sales for these small businesses aren't going to fall by more than 2.5%. It's just impossible. You should be ashamed of yourself for letting it get into the press, but we'll see what the federal judge says about the credibility of your consultants. My problem is that I've seen all this before. I graduated from Central High School in 1961,
and left the Twin Cities for 7 years to go to college, and then I was 6.5 years in Vietnam with the Marine Corps. By the time I came back, a neighborhood that I'd known very well, the Rondo neighborhood, had been completely decimated, split in half by what we now call Highway 94. And those people had to go somewhere, but they were expendable. It's 50 years later, and it's happening again. Not the same people, but the same kind of elitist, aloof, we know better, and kick people to the curb is going on again. And the question would have to be for what? But you seem to have no concept, and when I say you, I don't mean you as individuals, you're salaried government employees. Whether that's good or bad is another issue, but you have no concept of what a private sector job is or what the risks that these small business men and women are taking. They don't have retained earnings. They're feeding their families out of the net profits from their businesses. Ergo, they don't have bank lines. They don't have a source of funds to carry them for 2 or 3 years when sales are down 20%, not your 2.5%. So this is a fantasy. There's $1.5 million, I believe, that's been allocated from 2 or 3 sources, part of it charitable, part of it government, either outright grants or interest-free loans. The correct number should probably be north of $50 million, but since that's a large amount of money, you don't want to deal with it, so you're not going to deal with it. And the result is these people are going to go out of business one at a time for various reasons. Now, this is a clear case of a government taking, if ever there was one, but it's going to be very difficult to impossible for them to prove it in federal court after the fact, because was it the recession, was it something they did or didn't do as individuals, who knows. So whether they can survive is question number one. Whether they can get some compensation after the fact is question number two. But there's so much vacant property now on the north side of University Avenue between the state capitol and Snelling Avenue, one wonders if you couldn't relatively quickly build some shopping centers or strip malls, as my friends call them, set back from University Avenue with parking and move the existing small businesses into those places before the construction crews just tear the place apart. Now that's going to cost money too, but it would be some method of trying to keep people in business and save their ongoing business, the goodwill that they have developed over, 5 years, 10 years more, but it may delay construction. But theoretically, this is all about jobs, and certainly there's going to be several hundred high-paying $35, $50 an hour union construction jobs for 2 or 3 years. But in the process, you're probably going to destroy 4,000 private sector jobs, and many of those are less than $10 an hour, but they're the livings of these people, and these people are citizens too, and you are ignoring them, and you are going to destroy them, and shame on you.
I wasn't sure if you are providing any feedback. I mean, I was just curious to know why you would be willing to spend $8.7 million in mitigation with the potential loss of only 0 to 2.5%. And I just want to make sure that you're aware of the fact that this is a very contradictory report, and that should be readdressed as you go forward.
Sir, could you just, we'll close out the testimony, but just the reporter was taking down. Could you remind us of your name, please?
Sure. My name is James Siegel with Axman Surplus, 1639 University Avenue. And again, my question is, why would you spend $8.7 million on mitigating a problem that in your own report you suggest would only be 0 to 2.5% loss in revenue? It contradicts itself. And there's a lot of contradictions in the report, and I think that you need to go back and do your homework and provide us with a better document. I mean, the judge told you to do something, and basically, in my view and a lot of other folks, and this is someone's way of just raising their middle finger back at the businesses and saying this is what we have for you, and it's a real disappointment. I think if you read the document, you'll come to that same conclusion, that you can't suggest. I mean, on a sunny day, I lose more than 0 to 2.5% just to the weather. being nice out, and you're talking about lane restrictions and road signs and cones and so forth. So I just think the businesses want something from you. They want a better report. They want a real report, not to be brushed over. And otherwise, I just wouldn't do it. I would just tell the judge, forget about it. We're not going to do it. Otherwise, have a meaningful report that makes sense to the businesses and provide real information.
And unless anybody has anything else, I believe that concludes our hearing this morning.
I think I might just quickly remind people the comment period is open through March 31st. This is on, right? The comment period is open through March 31st. So if there are additional comments, they're welcome through that time period. I believe there's information on how to comment if you all might have seen that on our website. If not, we can give that to you here today. And then we'll go making responses to those comments after March 31st.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Central Quarter LRT public hearing about business revenue impacts during construction. My name is Mark Furman. I am the New Starts Program Director for the Metropolitan Council, which does include responsibility for the Central Quarter Light Rail Transit project. I am joined here at the front table today by Maya Ray, immediately to my right, your left. She is from FTA headquarters in Washington, D.C., and she is working very closely with us in hearing your comments and having helped prepare the environmental assessment that you are speaking to tonight. To my immediate left is Catherine O'Brien. She's the environmental manager for the CCLRT project, also a lead project person on developing the supplemental environmental assessment. And to her left, Nkango Sigalo, who will be assisting us tonight, helping manage our time, as we will ask you to keep your comments to certain periods of time that I will share with you here in a couple minutes. Yes, we have a sign-up sheet here, and we've got probably 8 or so folks who've already signed up, and you are able to add your name to the sign-up roster here during the course of the hearing.
Thank you. My name is Scott Walker. I represent the Capital City Business Council. We represent a number of businesses here on University Avenue and have been in this process for the last 2 years. We filed a complaint with the FTA, the Chicago District 5 in Chicago, immediately after the first EIS was made. I think it's important for you, the new members and I don't see any of the new members of the Metropolitan Council here. I appreciate that the Department of Transportation this year, listening to what the businesses have to say here. We have been very frustrated with the process. We believe that we've been patronized by the Met Council over the past 2 years with regards to their concerns and the mitigation money that has been, I can't say it's been promised, but it's been allowed to think, the business has been represented that there will be some mitigation money. From our reading from the EIS from the very beginning, no mitigation money was in it, period. It's been stated when the EIS that no mitigation money would be needed, and therefore no adverse effects would be seen by the businesses during the construction of this project. I think the federal court judge, over the last, within his decision, pretty much dispelled that, and we were very appreciative of the courage of the Rondo community to sue on those bases and give us an opportunity now to address those. Again, I think it's important that the public knows that the businesses have not been duly advised of this project from day one, since July of 2009. In the court order, or in the closing arguments of the Rondo's lawsuit, the Met Council's attorney made the statement that over nearly 3,000 public meetings have been held. And it's been the attempt of the Met Council to do everything they can to address the concerns of the businesses along the corridor. And out of those 3,000 some meetings, nothing, and I mean nothing, has been resolved. So it's been obvious to us that the Met Council has been using those public meetings as a vehicle to persuade the FTA to partner with this project. And the game has been to do anything they can possibly do to persuade the FTA to partner with this project to get it going. To my knowledge, and a lot of this stuff is what we've heard. In 2009, $30 million had been spent on engineering and on the planning of this project. Since that time, in the last 2 years, it's been widely known now that $140 million has been spent, and still the FDA has not partnered with this project. I had an opportunity to speak to Ms. Ray tonight, this morning, and I really appreciate that conversation. Much of what I have stated here publicly was corroborated by her, and I asked her if she would probably address the process, and to let everybody know that this has not been, the FDA has not partnered with this, and it's important for the public to understand that. She indicated to me that unless she is invited to speak, she can't speak. So I don't know if this is a two-way conversation tonight. I don't know how many speakers you have, but it would be very beneficial for the community, for the businesses, to have a two-way conversation with you and to address some of the issues that have not yet been addressed. And it's important for us as a business community to get that in the public domain and make sure that the public understands that they have not been duly advised and that their concerns haven't been taken. Thank you very much.
Much, Mr. Walker. In response to your question, we actually, FTA and Met Council, are here to listen tonight. We don't want to get into an exchange because it's really the citizens and businesses' opportunity to let us know your thoughts and your comments. So you have had a chance to talk with Ms. Ray, but tonight's public session really is about us listening to comments from the community. Mr. Larry Peterson, and on deck we will have Don Smith. Mr. Peterson?
Thank you. My name is Larry Peterson. My office is at 2233 University Avenue. I've been located on the avenue for 25 years. I'm here speaking on behalf of the University Avenue Betterment Association. We originally were the University Avenue Business Association, but then we realized we really do have a bigger mission. And we also are called UAVA for some of those that are into acronyms. I want to just cite...
Sir, we need to speak closer to the mic so the court reporter...
Oh, okay. Okay. I just want to cite a couple of statistics from the Wilder Research Institute. This corridor consists of households with 25% of them with adjusted gross incomes of less than $10,000. 55% of the households are less than $30,000 adjusted gross income on an annual basis. 45% of the employers employ less than 5 employees. 75% of employers employ less than 20. 39% of the population in the corridor is colored. 20% are foreign-born, of which 2/3 of the Asian population are foreign-born. 1/3 of the black are foreign-born. This is a unique project. It's a project that nowhere else in this country have they undertaken a project like this in the middle of an established neighborhood, established business community. I'd like to just spend a few minutes going through the draft report. I'm going to highlight these things very quickly for you, and hopefully you'll be able to come back to it. First of all, the report was done by the Department of Transportation. The Volpe Institute is a division of the Department of Transportation. We don't consider it a terribly objective study. It did not include any of the comments that were generated at the February 17th public hearing, town hall meetings. And there were many people there voicing their comments and giving them written comments for that matter, and that no place in this report are those referenced. If you look at page 15 of the study, it admits there is no study done correlating the impact on businesses with construction. And then yet the study goes ahead and uses and refers to 4 different studies. That same conclusion is referred to on page 8 when it says no studies have directly tied the impacts qualitatively described to quantitative estimates of sales revenue losses. So right out of the chute, the report admits that there are no valid studies out there. It also states that on page 3, the highway projects that were cited vary significantly from the Central Corridor project in terms of construction complexity, duration, construction staging options, geographic constraints, and construction seasons, all of which can contribute to the impact of construction. So they admit also that the studies aren't even relevant in terms of similarity. The Minnesota Department of Transportation's regulations were cited, in which there are 2 factors that must be considered as part of mitigation: financial assistance to businesses losing nearby on-street parking, and general financial assistance to small businesses affected by construction activities. And then on page 18, they conclude that we have looked at 6 forms of mitigation, and they will be financial assistance to businesses losing nearby on-street parking. There isn't $1 contributed to assist businesses that do not have parking and have lost all of their on-street parking. General financial assistance to small businesses affected by construction activities. We have a $1.5 million loan fund. I'm not sure if you're a failing business with construction occurring that you're going to obligate yourself to another loan. Therefore, I submit that even this factor has not been successfully completed. Additionally, the Houston study, which they say is the most relevant, found a 28% decrease in general merchandise stores, 37% decrease in food stores, 32% decrease in automotive outlet stores, and a 17% decrease in furnishings. And yet from that, they arrive at a 0 impact. On page 13, they find only 25 food stores on the entire 11-mile stretch of the corridor. I think that's a false statement. They find only 6 general merchandise stores in the entire length of the 947 businesses. They find only 3 furniture stores. I just find this job classification and business classification totally unbelievable. Now, if I'd like to take a couple quick seconds here to recommend some alternatives. You have the Lake Street study, which I'll leave with you tonight. Clearly is a better example. You have the Seattle study, which again is clearly a better example. Seattle study, in fact, verified and proved how mitigation money can reduce the impact. You have the Lower Town. This is a project that was started 2 years ago. The Lower Town businesses were virtually demolished. And the data is right there, a 20 to 40% loss in revenues by the liquor stores, the Mastercraft frame store, the bars, the restaurants, and the landlords. And all those affidavits will be submitted to show that you have data right there that you could have relied upon. We're tracking the over 20 businesses that have already left the avenue. There's another 10 that have gone out of business. There are substantial losses that have already occurred. We already know that in Stadium Village, one business, a Dairy Queen, which has a captive audience right there at the University of Minnesota campus, suffered a 20% loss the very first day construction started in January. It has continued to suffer 20% loss every time thereafter. So the judge gave the Met Council and the FTA an opportunity to do it right this time. And you'll be getting comments from the St. Paul Chamber of Commerce, the Midway Chamber of Commerce, U7, which is a group that is monitoring much of the money in the loan program. They all say we must have mitigation funding. And if you evaluate the data that's there, that's already been created by this project, you will conclude that there is a substantial adverse impact, and then there should be funding made available to solve that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peterson.
Hello, my name is Don Smith, and I'm a West Side resident at 510 Humboldt Avenue. I'm not only about if the construction going on, but if this project is completed, the problems that it would probably cause. I'd just like to raise some questions. How much money will it cost? From where is it coming? We all know that. The federal government is already $13 to $14 trillion in debt. How much in local, state, and federal taxes will we have to pay? We're already taxed to more than the limit. We've got a transportation system that already works. Now, the light rail would stop every 1/2 mile to 1 mile as opposed to every 1 to 2 blocks with the current system. That would be a detriment, especially for the elderly citizens. What about snow removal? What about the traffic snarl at the University and Snelling intersection? What about the University of Minnesota students and campus? What about the river crossing, the bridge work, or a new bridge needed? How many probable or unforeseen problems would be encountered? How much more would it cost than projected, as if the projection isn't enough already? What about the citizen? The bigger the government, the smaller the citizen. The plan to me seems to be plain to see that it's unfeasible. So I thank you very much.
Good evening. Good to see everyone again. I was at this morning's meeting, so this is my second time being involved in this process today. This morning's meeting went rather well, and I hope that all of the input that was given this morning's meeting will be obviously utilized to make the best decisions with regard to businesses and how they've lost, they're going to lose revenue and they're losing revenue. My business is at 1607 University Avenue. I own a construction company. I have commercial real estate, and I also have a tenant at that location. I've been involved for months and months and months with regard to this project, and I've spent months of my time with the city of St. Paul. And again, I do not get paid for this. The folks that are here across from me are all paid. They're all on a salary with benefits of some sort or another, and they're being compensated. I'm here on my own, and I think that in itself says a lot. The planning for this project is completely under-planned. It's been really quite a joke. I've got a building that has no parking whatsoever. March 7th, which was a week ago Monday, the construction started. I was prepared, I knew it was happening. I let the city know it was going to happen, and still, no signs were created. We asked them to have directional signs to let our customers know where to go so that they would not be confused and we wouldn't lose customers. Well, you can go over to my property right now and there's no signs there. I was actually directed by one of the staff at St. Paul that I shouldn't make my own signs, that they would do it. Well, shame on them. I've gone so far as to contact and communicate all of our different local elected officials. They should be at this meeting. Not just myself and the other business owners, but the elected officials should be here listening to us. Our livelihood is at stake. I've lost, since March 7th, $7,300 already. If you do the math, that equates to roughly $15,000 a month. $15,000 a month times the 3 years equates to roughly $540,000 that I'm going to lose. My businesses. The study should have been done before anything was considered, any construction was even talked about. These are things that should have been researched and looked at accordingly. I mentioned that I'm for the rail. I don't have a problem with the rail. I'm saying that if it's not done correctly, don't do the job at all. The funds need to be there. My livelihood is at stake, folks. My livelihood is at stake. And I'm very, very much a part of this area. I love the St. Paul area. I want to continue to work in St. Paul. And this study being done by the Met Council hopefully is going to get done correctly and accountably. I've had the opportunity to talk to the new chair, Susan Haig. Very nice lady. Unfortunately, she's not here tonight. I understand she's on vacation. I've got a little bit of an analogy, and I'd just like to throw this out, and it's something that I'm just putting together kind of rough-cuffed right now. Suppose that all of you sitting at the table across from me were to get up every morning, put your shoes on, go to work, do the same work you're doing right now every day. At the end of your pay period, whenever that might be, the end of the month or every 2 months, you come to get your check. And your check is basically 60% less than what you're used to, you're accustomed to. My question is what would you do? How mad would you be? How would you feed your families? This is serious business, folks. I hope you're listening. Mark Furman, I've called and I've left messages to talk to you multiple times, and I hate to say I haven't received a return phone call. I'm sure you're busy. I know you've done a great job because I've seen some of the contracts that you've bid on this project come in under budget. That's a beautiful thing. Well, use some of that money accordingly and take care of your businesses that are going down. Use the money the way it should be to help these folks up and down the avenue that have their livelihoods at stake. I ask and pray that we all do the best we can do, and that this project, if it happens, is good for everyone. But take into account the small business owners, because we're asking for your help. We're asking for your help. I'm asking for the people from St. Paul to stand up and stand behind the property owners and the business owners that pay taxes. The mayor, I've asked for the mayor to contact me multiple times. No return phone call, no response. It's a shame. This is very serious. I thank you for your time. I thank you for everyone that's come tonight. And let's do the job. If we do the job, do it right or don't do it at all. Bottom line. Thank you.
My name is Mary Leonard, and I own Chocolat Celeste. It was located at 2506 University Avenue, 280 in University. I have been in business for 9 years. The economic impacts have already come to me. I made the decision because of the fact that I wasn't being listened to in any way, that I would not participate in any of the activities associated with fighting the light rail. I actually believe in the light rail, but I know that businesses cannot survive along this avenue through the construction. Over in 2008, I was going to move to downtown Minneapolis. I met with, I don't believe he's an elected official, but he is an arm of the people that are in power that have to do with light rail and other things that are happening. It was the person in charge of the downtown Minneapolis Council. And he said to me when I was talking about moving downtown Minneapolis, he said, well, the businesses on University are marginal anyway, and they probably shouldn't exist. And he also said, I don't know if your business is one of them, but. And I think that was really, irresponsible and also very, very arrogant because of the fact that these businesses are our livelihood. I have dreamed of having this chocolate business for a very, very long time. I invested $500,000 so far in the 9 years. It's my entire life savings. When there was going to be no parking, I knew that my retail business would die. It was already the main complaint I received from customers. So having it go further was not even an option for me. So I had to make another plan, and I did make another plan. I moved to Transfer Road. Luckily, I moved to Transfer Road on Valentine's Day week. The street was closed in front of where my former business was, as the meters were hooded. And I believe that I lost a significant amount of business because people thought I was there, and not only that they thought I was there, I had a sign there and maps, but they couldn't have even gotten to it because even the sidewalk was closed. Imagine if I hadn't taken action. So Valentine's Day this year was as $20,000 less than it was last year, and that's 40% less. Needless to say, it also is, Valentine's for me is how I survive for the rest of the year. It may not seem like very much, $20,000, but it pays for a lot of months after that. In addition to that, because I had to take action before it happened, because I have a kitchen and I need to be moved before snow arrives and things like that, I moved out of my space in May of last year. The consequence of that was a loss of revenue of nearly $90,000. The move itself cost me $20,000. A small business cannot take that kind of, downward revenue and survive. And it has been simply fallen on deaf ears. I went to some of the meetings, but I simply stopped going. The reason I went, it was just a room full of talking heads talking about the planning process. We never got to speak. I once spoke at a very early meeting, and I had something very important to say, and I was adamant about it, which I still believe in light rail. The thing was that they made sure that I didn't speak any further. And I thought that that was also in their arrogance, that they really had no interest in hearing what we had to say. I think what this is all about really is a legacy of one of the people at the top. And it's not anything about the people. And we need to be able to afford to live. I'm 56 years old, and now I have to either, punt, or I have to go find a job if it doesn't work in this new location. And it is my livelihood and the rest of my life that's being affected, and no one is listening. So when they're not listening, I made another plan, and I cannot participate further in these meetings and things like that to waste my time, because the purpose of my business is to earn a living, not to fight for a project that's out there. So where I'm looking to is another location, another market, but you did destroy my business for a period of time, and I have to have the time to recover. The local banks also say, oh, well, my goodness, you had plenty of time to plan. That's fine for a bank to say, but it's not for a small business to say, oh, there was plenty of time. You're busy, running that business. I couldn't have stayed there not only because of parking, but also they would possibly turn off the electricity, and therefore my product might have spoiled. If they turned off the water, I can't operate and wash dishes. I simply had to leave. So I hope that people are hearing this and that they're really listening. It's not a 2% or a 10% loss in business. It's much more than that. It's losses of people's homes, education for their children, retirements. It's big, and the people that lost their businesses on Lake Street can really tell you that. People simply did not go to Lake Street any longer, and people will simply not come to University Avenue. It's a negative business environment, and it's just not possible to survive. And if it was a highway, it would be, if someone took their home, they would be paid for that home. It's time they considered being paid something for the loss of their businesses. Thank you.
Leonard?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Tim Nolan. I live at 86 Wilkins Street, St. Paul. I'm here, I just want to do a quick thumbnail. I hope it doesn't work on the clock. My background, I'm a great-grandson of an early pioneer. Great-grandpa arrived here before it was a state. He had a livery stable which is now downtown Minneapolis. He sold the first horse-drawn ambulance to Minneapolis City Hospital. My grandfather and his two brothers built the very first roads in America from Rochester to Kenora, Ontario. My grandfather, being a structural engineer, did the recrowning of the Stone Arch Bridge in 1907 through 1910. My grandfather, on the maternal side, being with the Ford company, my father was the youngest Ford dealer. I have these pictures, you can keep them into the record. And also, here's the construction somewhere along, I have no idea where that is. But anyway, I'm here on behalf of We the People. I've talked to Jim Overstar on January 18th of this year at Humphrey Institute. I proposed my vision, which I've had for some time now, is a monorail on 94. On August 6, 1991, the Ramsey County Board at that time approved that as a workable plan. I presented to the Hennepin County Commissioners, which would be the Minneapolis Station on the Minneapolis Army. That was voted 5-2. That's a natural corridor being the Minneapolis Station, starting at downtown Minneapolis at the Minneapolis Armory, going on the corridor at 94, in the St. Paul stop in front of the History Center. It's 8.6 miles. It's more feasible, it's more practical, it doesn't cause any disruption in the business. I have two, which has already been in the record, have looked at the plans. You're not comparing apples with apples. My father, having been on Lake Street, I was really upset with the Latino community's businesses were literally ran out of business. We have to look at this as a vision. We have to look at this as something, how it's going to help the community. Our economy is tiptoeing out of recession, and this is making the economy, the people and merchants that work, that have a lot of sweat equity, they are standing on quicksand. Let's put a hold on this, get some more information. Let's get together a strong feasibility study on the possibilities of 94 monorail. Let's do it right the first time. Draw people to this area. University Avenue will become the Avenue of Americana, showcasing the rich cultural diversity along this corridor. Doing it right, it'll bring people to this area, coming in from Minneapolis to St. Paul, being above the tree line, seeing the twinkling lights along University and so on. We'll bring them back, and that's what we will bring. It'll bring sales tax. It'll have really, as far as the wages, will be really livable wages. And I've been working on the Promised Neighborhood, which is down the road. I've been met with a lot of the main people there. I will continue with them. I've been involved in 3 town meetings with the people in Frogtown. They have when we had a chance to brainstorm, they have some very, very creative businesses along the line. This is not to be a corridor of CVS's and so on and so forth, all the corporate-driven machinery. Because the people here who worked here deserve to hold on what they have. So give us some thinkable, have some more sound information, some more input from the people. I am here on behalf of We the People. Our bottom line is we want life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We're tired of being the low-class citizens while the fat cats continue to get fatter. I was also opposed to Carl Pohlad Stadium. The guy didn't even live long enough to open up his own stadium. Anyway, that's about all I have to say right now. I promised my mother I wouldn't get angry.
Thank you, Mr. Nolan.
Okay. Sure, go. Good evening. My name is Benita Warrens. I own and operate Mr. Michael Recycles Bicycles. Our entire budget to run the place is $13,000 a year. We run it on a break-even basis. What we do is we collect used bicycles, we fix them, and we give them to people in need. To pay for that, we sell used parts, used accessories. We sell some bicycles that need to be fixed for people to use as project bikes. And some of the collectible or better bicycles. We sell those as well. We have partnerships with Downtown Congregations to End Homelessness, with the Coon Rapids Kiwanis, with one of the public schools in Minneapolis, with Leonardo's Basement, a number of places that we supply used bicycles to them for their programs, or in the case of Downtown Congregations, we actually do the repairs at our shop. They send volunteers to us, and then their clients come to our store. They mostly take the bus. They come to our store to take a class, and when they leave with a bicycle, and they leave with a lock and a helmet. We are 1/2 block off University on Pryor. The parking in front of our building, and it's a mixed-use building with 22 units of affordable housing, the parking in front of there is going to go to metered parking. I don't know what kind of rules are going to govern this metered parking and what the time frame is for it to be enforced. However, a lot of the bicycles that we receive, we get quite a few of them from Anoka County from various cities. We have 5 cities that we do their recycling. However, we also get bicycles, a lot of walk-ins. You know, elderly people who've had this bike hanging in their garage for 20, 30 years and they want to bring it in, and we take those. However, it's going to be very difficult for people to bring bicycles to drop them off at our store. It's going to be very difficult for people who want to bring bicycles to our store to repair them because they have to physically bring it to the store, and that requires a car, a truck, a van. They're not going to take a broken bicycle on light rail or even on the bus. It's pretty hard to do. So the loss of parking on University is going to force those people to park using the parking in front of our building, and people will not be able to park to bring bicycles to us, and customers that do arrive by car. So that's going to be a serious problem for us. And in terms of the loans, I would not ever go and borrow money that I don't know that I can repay. And I think that offering businesses loans isn't going to cut it. You need to give them grants, straight up. You need to pay them, compensate them for the loss of revenue during this construction. And for those that are losing on street parking, they need to have some kind of money or compensation, or they need to have some kind of money and relocation assistance to move to a location where they can do business and have the appropriate parking. Nobody's talking about that. Likewise, the residents that live close by, why should they have to spend their own money for permit parking? They should subsidize permit parking for those people on those couple of streets north and south of University in those residential areas. And that would be the only way that those people who live there would even be able to come home at night, park the car, and go in the house. So these are some real impacts. And every bike that doesn't come through the door is a bike that either can't go to help a homeless person to get a job and get off the street. And I have documented examples of homeless people who have done that. And likewise, every bicycle that we get, it either isn't going to go to somebody that we give it to, or it's not going to be available for us to sell to someone, or we would lose that repair business to some other bike shop. And we need to have the access. And so it is going to have an impact on us. The other thing that I want to mention, he mentioned April 6, 1991. Let me expand on that just briefly. What happened was they had a citizen task force made up of people up and down University Avenue, the district councils, the business community at the time. There were a lot of people that served on this task force. They unanimously came to the conclusion that if light rail was ever built, it was to be built on I-94. In that corridor, they studied 3 alignments: Pierce Butler, University, and I-94. And I-94 was the unanimous choice. And the reason was because they knew that the amount of space that light rail would take up would take away parking from the businesses, and it would kill the business community on University Avenue. The people in 1991, they knew this. And then they recommended that to the Ramsey County Board. And the people who were on that board at the time voted unanimously on that date that if light rail was built, the preferred alignment was going to be I-94. That decision was overrode in around 2002, and it's hard for me to figure out exactly who was ultimately responsible, but the county board had completely changed over by then. And so it had to do with some developers, and some people have these fancy ideas that they want all these high-rise, high-density, New York City style living along University Avenue. We've had there were 700 people. That's how much the population in St. Paul increased over the last decade, roughly. And I don't know what the new census figures are, but I'm sure that it's similar order of magnitude. We've built several thousand new units of housing. Now, if our population, you've built 10 times as much housing as the population has increased. This is ludicrous. And they want to build more of it, and they're building this light rail so that they can force all this housing when we already have an abundance of housing, but not enough that low-income people can afford. At any rate, this is going to have a serious impact on people's livelihoods, and I do ask that you direct some of that money toward straight-up grant money, none of this loan stuff. Grants. Give people money, compensate the little guy for what they're losing, because the fat cats that own some of these buildings, they're going to be making a killing, because they'll knock the stuff down and build big, huge buildings. And the developers will build that, do it unto us, and move on. And we'll be left with the aftermath. So you need to help the little guys, the people who rent in these buildings right now, the people who live close by, those of us who build this city, those of us who change lives, whether it's with bicycles or whatever, because many of us in business do change lives. And so we ask that you do that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen Inman, and I'm Vice Chair of the District Council Collaboratives of St. Paul and Minneapolis, and I live in District 7. The District Council Collaboratives is a coalition of 14 city-recognized neighborhood organizations located on or near the Central Corridor Light Rail Line. In both Minneapolis and St. Paul, our member organizations are part of the official planning and development review processes, and we work to ensure that community voices are heard when public decisions are made. And I'm here today to speak on behalf of the DCC. The DCC has reviewed the draft supplemental environmental assessment of construction-related potential impact on business revenue and appreciate this opportunity to provide public comments on the document. In June of 2006, the DCC announced its strong support for the Central Corridor Light Rail Line, pointing to this as a once-in-a-lifetime investment for the Twin Cities and the metropolitan region, but we cautioned that we needed to do it right, which is why we're here today to voice community concerns that the project is not providing sufficient business mitigation measures. A thriving and diverse business community is an asset to the neighborhood along the corridor. Businesses contribute to the neighborhood's identity and livability, providing job opportunities to residents, offering residents nearby shopping, entertainment, and professional services, and help build and sustain a city's tax base. In the Central Corridor, there is a strong history of small business investing in University Avenue where others would not. And the DCC is very concerned that existing businesses in the Central Corridor may not survive construction and thrive thereafter. With this concern in mind, we want to focus our comments today on the proposal that concludes that business revenue losses will not exceed 2.5%. The adequacy of proposed business mitigation measures permitting loss of on-street parking, and the February 17 town hall meeting. The DCC questions the reliability of the environmental assessment and the technical report conclusion that business along the corridor will experience business revenue losses of only 0 to 2.5%. The Volpe Institute readily admits there are limitations to the use of just one highway study from 1993 to calculate the impact of the business's Central Corridor. The DCC agrees and suggests that limitations are sufficiently enough that the study findings are not applicable to the Central Corridor. Last summer, during the height of the construction, restaurants in St. Paul's Lowertown revenues losses were as high as 50%. Currently, businesses on University Avenue are bracing for losses in the range of 20 to 30%. And as noted in the environmental assessment, there are over $2.1 million in business assistance programs to help minimize these losses. The environmental assessment conclusions that a maximum loss of only 2.5% could be projected not to align with on-the-ground experience of the level of business preparation and assistance underway. Therefore, the DCC questions whether the environmental assessment sufficiently satisfies the recent federal court order. The DCC is concerned that the mitigation strategies proposed in the environmental assessment are not sufficient and in some cases are not fully disclosed. Small businesses, especially those that are immigrant or minority owned, are reporting that loan program identified in the environmental assessment does not meet their needs and is underfunded. The DCC shares these concerns and opposes a forgivable loan component which may negatively impact small businesses' credit ratings. The DCC strongly encourages the FTA and the Met Council to work with the impacted businesses and local funding partners to revise the business assistance program to meet the needs and the constraints of small, minority, or immigrant-owned businesses. The environmental assessment states that the community outreach coordinator mitigation budget is valued at $4 million. The DCC requests details on this budget. Outreach coordinators spend a great deal of time meeting with residents in the community, attending projects meetings, and representing the project at community events. These activities are not related directly to business mitigation and should not be included in the business mitigation budget. Along the same line, the DCC would request that business assistance program budget be detailed to show how much of the funds go directly to businesses and how much is used for program administration. Environmental assessment refers to a temporary loss of revenue due to temporary loss on-street parking during construction only. This is misleading. The FEIS disclosed permanent losses up to 85% of on-street parking, and it should be disclosed as such in the environmental assessment. Small businesses without access to off-street parking will experience long-term loss in revenue. Appropriate parking mitigation measures should be proposed in the assessment. Finally, the DCC would like to express its great disappointment in the February 17th town hall meeting. Community members were extremely frustrated with the open house format that did not allow people to speak or have questions answered before the entire group. It was not the forum or town hall as promoted in press releases. One-on-one conversation lacked transparency and made it difficult for community members to hear other perspectives. This format does not advance general understandings in the intent of the environmental assessment study and undermines public trust in the NEPA process. The DCC would like to thank the FDA and the Metropolitan Constable for this opportunity to speak. We will be submitting written compliments to supplement this public testimony. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. O'Keefe.
Okay, I have lived in the Midway area for 30 years, since 1979. I have seen neighbors being kicked out of their homes because of high taxes and inability to pay. But what is happening is we are losing all our businesses in the Midway area, especially small businesses. The government is only offering them $10,000 with rules and regulations that are not acceptable to the working people and business owners in the community. Small businesses are losing their livelihood. Businesses I shop at every week. The city is pumping millions of dollars into light rail when they could have used the railroad tracks already in place by the St. Paul ballpark and had shuttle buses transferred to the Midway area. It should have saved us homeowners a lot of taxes in the Midway area. The city is putting billions of dollars in a system, but forgot about the parking problem. There is no place to park. How are we in the Midway going to get to our local stores with light rail in the middle of the street? A lot of us walk, some of us use electric wheelchairs, some of us use electric scooters. How are we going to get across the intersection to get to the local stores? You elected officials forgot the young, the old folks, the handicapped seniors that live in the Midway location. Wake up, people. We have seniors in a high-rise in the Midway area. Not very many of them have cars. In Loma Block alone, there are 5 handicapped residents, including my own home. And how am I going to get my husband walking in a wheelchair across University? So much could be done for the more the handicapped citizens than young. What about some walkways that will go across Hamlin, go across Snelling Avenue for the older people? Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. I am Jamie Dalton. I live in Summit U neighborhood. I run a business at 293 Como, which is nearby, which will be affected by the light rail in that there will be increased traffic congestion along Marshall, I-94, Pierce Butler, Como, Minnehaha, Thomas. All these streets will be overloaded with traffic. And I saw it with my own eyes when I-94 had a brief downtime this last summer. It really affected the neighboring streets that I just mentioned. So if University Avenue is down for construction, and if University Avenue is constricted to 1 lane, they say it's going to be 2 lanes, but it's really 1 lane, then I can imagine a lot of traffic problems. I prefer that the project be scrapped, but I would like to be counted among the people affected. I have 8 considerations that will, 8 ways that I'm affected. Traffic, which I mentioned. I don't like the total tax, the tax setup, the way it's planned to be funded through the CTIB. I think it's geared for inaccountability, and there is no elected official to the 5-county regional tax authority, which is the CTIB, my council. And I think this could really be a project with runaway costs. And I'm very concerned about that as a homeowner in St. Paul, in the Summit University area. The emergency evacuation will be affected. We're going to lose a 4-lane street. Snow removal has not been considered. There's going to be no place to put the snow. Parking is going to be a huge problem. And contrary to city assessments, it is not abundant in the neighboring streets off to the side of University Avenue. Access, as Pat mentioned, is a big problem because in all the plans that I saw, there are no handicap ramps or anything of the sort. Even a ramp like you see on the Hiawatha line is not planned for this rail system, for bikes and handicap wheelchairs and so on. I'm concerned also, 2 more things. Midway Book was damaged in the basement through a sewer system put in for the light rail system, and I'm concerned because the Hiawatha line was also damaged the furniture business in the same way, and there was very little accountability. As far as I know they settled a lawsuit on it, but I'm concerned about that. I'm also concerned about the $140 million spent already, and which I am going to pay for as a taxpayer. I'm going to be paying the tax also on 100% of the operations cost moving forward, and I'm concerned about that. So I have those 8 ways that I'm affected, and my business on Como Avenue, I feel, will be affected too. So thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Ms. Zeldin?
My name is Ina Valen. I live in the Cathedral Hill district. I worked at Swank Retro, 1910 University. Our business had to close down on January 31st due to this project. My boss lost his American dream, as well as his $30,000 investment. I lost my job and my American dream also. The communication that we were given was extremely
misleading. These meetings were held at extremely inconvenient times, often 7 o'clock in the morning. And ultimately, our small store just could not withstand the loss of access, the loss of parking, and we weren't going to just sit around and go broke. We had a natural community around us. We used the local sign company at one end of the block, the copy store at the other end of the block, the liquor store. It was a natural community, not a government-planned community like you're trying to create. People can create their own communities and do. We don't need you to create our communities. We were the largest mid-century store in the upper Midwest. We saved and recycled American objects of historic interest. We saved objects from the landfills. People come to our store from as far away as New York City to purchase our items. That whole community of vintage dealers and vintage lovers has been destroyed by your project. And I think you should know that. Thank you.
Yes, I am. Thank you, council members. This is, I am Eva Ng. Does it help? I am president of Capital City Business Council, and I represent more than 50 businesses in St. Paul and surrounding areas. Some of our members are on University Avenue. Let me be brief. Our members think this project is the height of insensibility. It is fiscally irresponsible. In January of 2010, Secretary of Transportation Ray LaHood had to waive the cost-effective index criterion in order to allow this project to proceed. One of our members commented that the $10,000 loan being offered would cover less than 1 month of his expenses. Another one of our members say that in order for his patrons to be saved from the street, now that his sidewalk is shortened, he has to move his front door. It's going to cost him $75,000 to do so. Additionally, the $500 million being offered by the Fed as matching funds have not been approved, right? $245 million have been proposed for this year and for next year, but not yet approved. So if those funds do not come through, we are left holding the bag, and if the project fails, we have to pay the money back. So we also know that this project is having problems treading on property rights, as eminent domain cases are now already cropping up. And finally, this project is a safety hazard on an already strained thoroughfare. So on behalf of the members of Capital City Business Council and nearly 5 million Minnesotans, I challenge you to summon up the courage to rethink or defund this nonsensical project called Central Corridor Light Rail. Thank you.
How are you today? Welcome to St. Paul. And in case I missed them, I didn't see anybody from the Met Council here. I don't understand the governor's appointed an entire slate of new Met Council leaders. Are any of you here? There you go. They're not here. City council members, we have 7 in St. Paul. Are you here? 7 members of our county board. Are you here? Any legislators here? Well, you see our problem. Our elected officials in St. Paul have abandoned us. They've abandoned common sense. And they've pursued their own agenda, not the agenda of the people in this room. We've heard a lot of testimony today, and it's been measured in thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars, percentages that are huge to the people that have given you testimony. And we have a $1 billion project that rations the documents to the public so they can be informed. Where we can view the document You know, your project, the city's project, the county's project, the Met Council's project, frankly, is not our project. You've heard people indicate to you tonight that they actually want this project, but they want it on terms that are of human scale, not the scale that's delivered by people in some institutional setting where they think, oh, this is what people need, who may have never been to this community or entered the stores and obviously can't count the number of furniture stores or groceries or food stores on our street. This program is nothing but an excuse to build a monument. This is an expensive plan for monument building, one in which light rail stands for let us raise your taxes permanently, not transportation. I have to tell you, as somebody who came to St. Paul to attend the Hamlin Graduate School to earn a degree in public administration, who just down the street at Humphrey Institute many times have been there and enjoyed their programs, I think both the faculties of these fine institutions, who do a great job at what they do, would give this project in its conceptualization and its implementation an F. And the first course you take in public policy deals with implementation. And people often talk about it in the business as being the toughest part. You can have the money, you can have a plan, but folks, this thing, I mean, it is really an ill-begotten thing. We have construction that started over a year ago downtown. We've got construction that's starting out here. We've got construction over by the U. And yet we have all these people that have never been heard from. Now, isn't that a little strange? I was president of my district council. We have 17 in St. Paul. They were started in the 70s to take public input, to enhance public participation. That is not what has occurred in this project. I mean, it is shocking that a city of, with a embrace of public participation has ended up with its politicians telling us this is what you will have, this is how you will have it, and you will like it. And the arrogance even of the new chair of the Met Council to say to the media, and it's been on all the stations, and you ought to review the tape and put it in your record, the train has left the station. This governing body, the Met Council, the city, the county, have left the people of this area behind. They've ignored us, they haven't listened to us, but what did they do? Let me give you what did I do with that little rascal? They, let me find that thing. Oh my goodness, where did they go? I'm gonna bring it up. Oh, no, it's not a call. It's not a call. If I could only find it. Which pocket did I put it in? Oh, well gee, maybe you'll remember it. It's a button that said, one message. Do you guys remember those buttons they passed out? I was gonna show it to you, but I bet you the Met Council has a couple of extras. You know, one message. Well, the message you're hearing tonight here is this project is not ready for prime time. I seek to represent the people of this district in the state senate. We just had a state senator resign. I'd run for this office in November. And frankly, it is amazing to me, as a student of public policy, as someone who enjoys doing good things for good people, to see how people who have risked their fortunes, their livelihoods, on the one street in St. Paul, by the way, if you take a little tour, I think you should before you go back to Washington. And there's a little irony there, isn't it? That we have to have a federal judge tell folks from Washington to come here to do the public participation job that we have district councils to do. But that's another story. It just seems to me if you travel to our north-south corridors, Payne Avenue, Arcade, Rice, Dale, go down to the industrial, the north-south here with Vandalia, you'll see economic issues, empty storefronts, people that were in business 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that had jobs. University, though, is different. University is like the street of dreams, to quote one of your previous testifiers. People developed all kinds of businesses. The smallest of businesses, the recycling business that Benita talks about, or the Walmart, that got a lot of negative press to join Target here, and then Target expanded, and so the big boys, the little folks, the recyclers, the nonprofits, everybody was doing things on a street that was working just fine, thank you. The buses were doing fine. Maybe they could have put a few more out there, but we didn't have people paying attention to whatever it was that was of value here. We had a street that was not requesting, not needing public finance for its economic enhancement. What we have is an opportunity here in your presence to go back to the judge, I hope, and say to them, and say to the court rather, that it is time to listen finally, and that maybe he should reconsider the order to actually engage beyond simply having listening sessions at the end of the project. I don't know of any textbook you could find, a public administration, that would call for these meetings to be held in this order. And we appreciate the judge. I mean, without him, we wouldn't even have this. But folks, I mean, I gotta believe you folks know, this represents a failed project. And if it's ill-begotten and it's failing at this point, the upside is not looking good. Thank you.
My name is Carl Gellert, and I was born and raised in the Midway area. I was born in Midway Hospital, and my uncle worked for Twin City Rapid Transit. My grandfather worked for the Como shops, building Pullman cars. My uncles worked for Brown and Bigelow as master printers. They printed Parrish work, Rockefellers. They were the best lithographers in the country. A lot of my relatives worked for Montgomery Ward. Now we know all these businesses are gone, torn down, destroyed, just in a short period of memory. Now I am going to be 68 years old in a few months, and I biked over here, and I remember riding the brand new streetcars. They rebuilt University Avenue in 1949 and put brand new streetcars on the street. Well, all of a sudden, something happened. And somebody got into the Twin City Rapid Transit, underworld characters, and the chief witness on the destruction of the Twin City Rapid Transit is buried under Highway 10 in Anoka. Isidore Kid Can Blumenfeld was a torpedo to get Twin City Rapid Transit. Now listen, you let me speak.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind you that we have a number of folks.
I know we have a number of folks, but you people don't seem to know anything. The point is,
the business revenues and business impact.
I don't care what anything you say has nothing to do with me. Okay, here's the United States Constitution. Have you read it? Have you read it? Yes or no? I don't seem to be getting answers on this wall. Now, this is Metropolitan Council is a non-elected officials with taxing power spending grant money from Washington. This is against the United States Constitution, using fiat money, which is proclaimed money, which is against the United States Constitution, to buy us out for $10,000. You're just running the presses. That's all you're doing. Now, my gosh, if you ever take a bicycle down University and see what's left to University, it's amazing. Nothing. Okay, I just talked to Little Dearborn Parts, because I have a lot of old cars. And you guys seem to be in trouble with Little Dearborn. He's got 4 lawyers on you and got you over a barrel. You're trying to take his building. You already tried to you took Campus Pizza to eminent domain. Where you got this power is incredibly. Now, where did you get eminent domain? Because you don't seem to be speaking to me except to tell me to shut up. You know what this is? Organized crime. That's all it is. Non-elected officials with taxation power. You guys are in so much trouble, and you have no money even to build this thing, and you're tearing up streets, condemning property. You know what this is? I talked to Ted Mondale. He says, oh, this Hiawatha line, there will be businesses all over the place. You know, I told him, Ted, you ever hear of high treason? This was never voted on. So I hope you all have fun sleeping tonight with your little pet project out there. No, this is not light rail. This is high-speed rail. It should be going down the freeway. You should put electric buses on University. Maybe a bike track. Maybe you should listen to people and stop taxing the hell out of them. I rest my case.
Okay, so my name is Jim Siegel, for the record. I own and operate Axeman Surplus on 1639 University Avenue, and I participated in this morning's meeting as well. I come to you to, in frustration, I guess, as others are, and I'm just a junk dealer, so I'll try to explain myself as well as possible. Certainly these other folks sound a lot smarter than me. A federal judge said that you failed to adequately analyze the potential loss of business revenues on the avenue. I don't know how long it took to prepare the EIS, the initial one. I think it was a couple, 3 years. In that time, you failed to adequately address the potential loss of business revenue. Then a federal judge forced you to readdress the issue, and we can all rest easy knowing that we're only should be prepared to lose 0 to 2.5% of our revenue. So everyone, I'd like just a moment of silence just to relax and reflect on that. Everything's going to be okay. Thank you, because they told us that we're only going to lose 0 to 2.5% of our revenue. I don't feel any better. I thought I would. The fact of the matter is that this report is inadequate. You've made 2 mistakes in a row. Basically, you were required by a federal judge to improve on something that you failed at, and you failed again. So tell us how we're supposed to have confidence in this project when we can't seem to get reality out of you. The reality is that businesses are going to lose 20, 30, 40, 50% of their revenue. I'm a married father. I'm married to a lovely woman. I have 3 lovely children. And I want you to think about this at night. Look at my face and remember the fact that every night I lose sleep about how I'm going to raise and feed my family, send them to school, give them the opportunities that they deserve, because a government project is putting my livelihood at risk. It's either arrogance, ignorance, or stupidity. And you guys have to decide. I'm not advocating scrapping light rail, as some may suggest. We just want it done appropriately if it's going to happen. And the bottom line is that businesses are going to need financial assistance during the construction process. My business alone could suffer losses in excess of $100,000, so a $10,000 loan is going to be horribly inadequate. Furthermore, it's completely unjust that I should be expected to bear the burden of this project by borrowing money to pay for the losses created by a nuisance created from the project. It doesn't make sense to expect business owners to borrow money to support themselves through a project. Furthermore, my business is located in an area that has no parking. My business encompasses 100% of my property. And so I need to have assurances that post-construction there's going to be a good parking alternative. And I do think that the City of St. Paul, specifically Russ Stark, has worked very hard to try and mitigate some of the parking issues. But it just seems to be failure after failure. As an example, the city leased a spot at Kitty Corner for my business to help with parking during the pre-construction utility relocation, yet the signage is horribly inadequate. How are we supposed to trust the organization that's supposed to be helping us with mitigation when we're right here on D-Day and yet you're still failing? And it's just unacceptable, and you guys have to realize that. It's unacceptable. It's great. The city leases a spot, and then you guys don't provide adequate signage to direct customers there. We put our own signs on the window. I mean, you could have made signs to put on the window. We could have had, the parking came the day of the loss, the day that you put up the loss of parking in my area, that was the day that we got the parking lot. In other words, it's constantly a matter of putting the cart before the horse. And I'm concerned that at what point, how many failures do we need to see before you recognize the fact that we need greater assistance? $1.5 million spread out over $10,000 is only helps 150 businesses. And it's just horribly inadequate. I'm just very disappointed that our tax dollars were used to create this document that my second grader could have done. And I mean harm in that statement, because I absolutely believe that this is contempt of court. You are basically raising your middle finger to Judge Donovan and telling him, we don't really care what you think. We're going to put something on paper so we have something, but there's no substance. reflect on the fact that there are going to be actual damages and come up with a plan to support us.
Thank you very much. My name is John Slade. I'm an organizer with MICA, the Metropolitan Interfaith Council on Affordable Housing. We are located just down the street at 2233 University Avenue in the Wright Building. MICA is a collection of congregations throughout the Twin Cities metro area. I work with the Ramsey chapter, which is here in the city of St. Paul, and there's about 20 churches that I work with there. MICA has not taken a position for or against the light rail project. We are, however, interested that if this project goes forward, that it benefits the neighborhoods that it goes through. We do actually believe that there is such a thing as taxation for the public good and projects for the public good. However, when we're looking at this project and the ordered new look at business revenue, we've got some concerns. We are aware the only reason that we're doing this here today is because the responsible agencies were compelled to take a second look at possible losses. Our experience to this point, and I recognize that both the FTA and the Metropolitan Council are political entities in some ways, and that sometimes the political context changes, but I was here 2 years ago making testimony, and mostly what I've seen is that any possible negative impact has been minimized or ignored. I'm again going to point at the current draft supplemental environmental impact statement, where I see that pattern again. The methodology of the Volpe Center study is clearly not aimed at doing an honest assessment of possible negative impacts. Using a 17-year-old study off of a Houston highway project as its main data source, it's claiming the best way to do this research was to do a literature review, which gave them very few studies that would be applicable. The draft SEIS does not deal with any of the information presented in the February environmental assessment sessions. The draft SEIS does not look at the actual losses suffered downtown St. Paul already by businesses. The draft SEIS does not look at the experiences of Lake Street in Minneapolis, which just got done with a multi-year renewal of that street. What the draft SEIS does do is use a study that claims that general merchandise, food, automotive, and home furnishing outlets will have decreases in business activity. For those groups, they showed a decrease between 17 and 37%. But according to the draft SEIS, less than 10% of University Avenue businesses fall into these categories. So what then is the assumption for the rest of them, the 90%? Quoting, DeSolomnak and Harrison used a confidence level of 90% in their analysis to conclude that there would be no sales revenue impacts for building materials like Menards, clothing, restaurants, drugstores, liquor stores, and miscellaneous categories. So this understands that we can now understand when you average a 25% reduction for 10% of the businesses with a 0% reduction for 90% of the businesses, you come up with the figure of 2.5% average impact. The draft SEIS is relying on a study that says that restaurants, drugstores, and liquor stores along University Avenue will have no revenue impacts from this construction. This is farcical. This is an example of an agency that appears to really not want to get at the real impacts. We, as an organization, are primarily concerned with the negative impacts of gentrification on the neighborhoods. Involuntary dislocation due to economics will drive people out, and it will change the character of the neighborhoods. We focus on housing, but we see housing and small business as intimately connected. We have not seen enough implemented to reduce those negative impacts. The African American communities that built up Rondo, the Asian, Hmong, Vietnamese, and others that rebuilt the east end of University, the Somali and the Oromo who are moving into the neighborhood, all have ties between their housing and the businesses that serve them. Without concrete and significant remediation for both small business and housing, this project looks like it will bulldoze these communities economically. There are things that change. It looked like we would never get the 3 additional stops in the neighborhood. Things changed politically, and we were able to get that. I'm hoping that there's a chance now for the Metropolitan Council to look again at what business mitigations and housing mitigations are available in those neighborhoods. Thank you.
My name's Andy Singer, and I represent the St. Paul Bicycle Coalition. But I'm here in part just as a concerned citizen who lives in St. Paul. And one thing that has become, I would point with to the previous comments that there's this incredible disparity between the body of the EIS and the executive summary of the EIS. I would endorse all of the comments that were just made about the draft EIS. But I'd also say that there are a lot of things that impact businesses that aren't even considered. And one of those things is that in the places where they have put, they're redoing sewers and have already narrowed the street to one lane in each direction, you can see the impact of vehicles going along the street right next to the curb, throwing up huge amounts of water and slush and rock and stone onto the sidewalks. Jim Sagal, who just spoke a while ago, I was in front of his store at the end of last week, and there was water before I got there. I mean, even at that time, when a vehicle went by, water was going halfway across the pavement. And earlier in the day, it was hitting the windows of his store and going into his store. And I feel that the Met Council in the process, in the planning and preparation for this thing, has not thought about the pedestrian realm at all. It's woefully under-considered in the original EIS, and it's not considered at all in this draft supplemental EIS. And they consider it on the station platforms. They admit that splattering water and slush is going to be a problem because they put knee walls on the station platforms, but they don't do anything for businesses or for narrow sidewalks or stuff where people are going to be walking and have to experience this as well. And I think that this is a construction mitigation issue, but I think it's also an issue after construction's over, because the preferred alternative is to have 4 lanes of traffic. And I would love to see 2 lanes of traffic and parking restored to the avenue, because I think it will protect the pedestrian realm and make it a more business-friendly street. And I think that we're making it into a travel chute where nobody can stop, where people are trying to get through the neighborhood instead of making the neighborhood a destination that people want to come to and be at.
Thank you, Mr. Furman. My name is Mike Madden. I live at 1768 Eigelhart. And in addition to a representative from my county commissioner's office, I see a representative from my Ward 4 City Council office, and also a representative from my mayor's office, and I appreciate them being here. The first thing I'd like to say is that as far as parking affects revenues for businesses, I have no objection to currently vacant lots being utilized for parking temporarily during construction. I do think it's unwise to raise any buildings for temporary parking during construction. I'd also like to thank the FTA for a letter I received dated February 28th, 2011, and it informs us all that after January of 2010, it was not a concern any longer of the FTA whether what sort of traffic programming was implemented with this program and with this project. In other words, while the project is designed to be built with 4 lanes of through traffic, it can be built with 1 lane in each direction and restored on-street parking. I think that's something that every business person, every resident of St. Paul is going to have to kick around a little bit and decide what works best for them, because it's our choice now, whether we want to restore that parking or not. The question here is accessibility versus mobility. Andy just called it a travel chute. Do we want transportation systems that take us far and fast, or do we want transportation systems that get us to our destinations easily? And I think that's what restored parking would give us: greater accessibility to businesses and I think I'll end it right there. But thank you again for that letter, and we got some thinking to do.
Ms. Sims?
Greetings to you all. I'm LaShella Sims. I'm with Micah, and my coworker John Slade spoke earlier. I hadn't intended to speak when I first came in, but as I listened, some thoughts came to me and that I needed to express. I'm assigned, part of my assignment with Micah is dealing with the light rail systems in Minneapolis, the Southwest Corridor one and the Bottineau North one. But I come to the north, I come over to St. Paul to listen and to learn from what's going on here. And sometimes some of the things that I hear scares the bejeebers out of me in terms of, hey, this is what's possibly headed towards the Minneapolis side of the river. And so I come and I listen and I learn, and it helps me in preparing on the Minneapolis side of the river. One of the things that I was driving over here tonight, I was discouraged in the traffic, and I almost turned around and went home, but I thought, no, this is part of the process. Let me proceed. And as I sat here and listened to a lot of the business owners as they were speaking, I was amazed at the creativity of all these businesses that are over here that I wasn't aware of. And I thought, my, what a rich environment of business owners and people that care and want to live here and do business. And I also thought of, as I was driving over, why weren't grants offered to these businesses versus the loans and things like that? Grants to help sustain them through this process. They're not begging and screaming and saying, poor me, poor me. They're just asking for a chance to survive, which is natural and should be considered. And as I listened to this part of the frustration and things, I got mixed emotions. And I thought of, hey, I am literally watching gentrification take place, or business gentrification. Micah strongly works against housing gentrification, but as I listened and looked around, it occurred to me that slowly and quietly, a business gentrification is taking place regarding the owners, the small business owners that are here now trying to survive and that are being displaced and not able to survive. And we all know that once things are up and lovely, that the bigger businesses are going to come in here and take over. And what's going to happen to the people that are here now? And so that saddens me. And I guess the business owners are expressing, really expressing a fairness and social justice for all. And they're owed no less than this. And a question comes to me, have they seriously and justly been asked how best to help deal with these problems that are being encountered? If they aren't, I mean, it's not too late to get in there and say, hey, let's work together and do this thing right and proper. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Colin Wilkinson. I am a private citizen of St. Paul and a patriot of the United States of America. I live on the east side of St. Paul, away from here. My wife does work along the University Avenue corridor over on Raymond Avenue. This is going to affect her commute. University Avenue is already suffering and is no longer the joy to visit that it used to be. I just want to give you my considered opinion. I think rail-based mass transit is a stupid policy. I think the Central Corridor Light Rail project is a stupid project. And I don't care how well organized everybody is and how well funded they are, well-organized stupidity is still stupid. And as a taxpayer, I'm fed up with the stupidity. Thank you.
They don't know it. They don't know it. I'm Jeanette Gudgel, and I am membership director for the Capital City Business Council. I got involved in this about 2 years ago when one of our members said to me, what are you going to do about light rail? And I kind of blinked at her and I said, well, I don't know. And about that time, it was just this time of year, a truck came by and splashed water up on the car. We were standing out on the sidewalk. And she said, now, take away that car, that parking, and 2 feet of sidewalk, and we'd have both been drenched. Well, I got my attention and I started doing some research. Having been a college professor for 18 years and taught mainly, excuse me, I've just fallen, so I'm a little shaken. I taught policy formulation and implementation, so I went to work immediately and started doing some research. As I looked at those businesses along University, we really have a small business incubator, and there are a number of very small businesses. And I went to, let's see, I've probably interviewed close to 50 people at length, and went to jillions of meetings. But the one meeting that stands out to me is when they had a fellow by the name of Tal Pan, I think is pronunciation, from Seattle, and he talked about the Seattle situation. And in Seattle, they had 359 businesses in the area that the light rail went down to the ground. And they had a mitigation program. They had 150,000, no, they had 5 million, but 150,000 was the maximum that a business could get because their business was interrupted. He said, now if you look at the environmental thing, it says 0 to 2% loss. His point was they lost anywhere from 20 to 60% of their business. And if you think about it, at 150,000 times, let's say 500 businesses, because we have we have a lot of not-for-profits, so they really don't count in here. And so we're talking about also 1 to 6 months, businesses couldn't even get in their front door. So they had about a 15% failure rate of businesses. So we've already seen a number of businesses either fail or move. Then he showed the photos of the construction, and it was a war zone. There was no question. It was amazing. And if you've ever been through any kind of construction, you know that it always takes longer than everybody says it's going to. He also talked about the challenge of real estate speculators. And we've already had that happening here. People grabbing up land. And we also have a situation where there's a number of businesses between the stops. And so it becomes a problem, particularly in the winter. How do people get there? The other thing that came out of that meeting was it was stated that business mitigation is not a problem for the Met Council. It must come from elected officials.
Right.
Now, St. Paul doesn't have the money. I doubt that Minneapolis does. Ramsey County doesn't. So we're really talking, if you're really looking at, well, 50, 60, 70 million dollars. If you really are supporting the businesses that will be out of business for anywhere from 1 to 3 or 4 years, depending on how the construction goes. So you need to think about that. I have very strong concerns. I don't see that we're gaining anything. And so that's my 2 cents. Thank you very much.
I own property on University Avenue down near Raymond, family business for quite a few years. I'm speaking now. I wasn't going to say anything, but I'd like to summarize what I've seen now this evening. I'm a little disappointed that this is the first time I've met you, Mark, and we've had letters a couple different times from our organization and from your organization. I do believe the representation from Met Council has been poor throughout this project. There's been a belief that it's been so poor that facts are hard for the Met Council to swallow. The people here tonight don't have the funds, don't have the ability to put together studies. We depend on our government to put together the studies that they're required to do. The first study that you referred to earlier, that the judge said, no, you didn't do a good enough job, I want another study. And that second study is the one that dictates 2.5% damages. Both studies seem to be a really poor job. What are we supposed to do? We show up here and we give you information. It appears to me, and I may be wrong, but we have a court reporter here today, and I'm told that this is public record. I wonder what happened to all the other comments for the last 2 years. They certainly didn't make it into the report I saw. I was at the meeting on the 17th of February, and there was an awful lot of comments there, and that didn't seem to make it into the report. If the outcome of all of these folks tonight and this morning, which is smattering compared to the last 2 years of all the meetings we've had, you could fill reams of paper with the amount of people who've showed up at the meetings over the last 2 years. As the president of this organization, I've had to go to all of them. I know how many meetings we've had. And we're not just checking boxes to say we had a meeting. We've brought real concerns, and we've voiced those concerns, and they don't seem to be listened to. If the outcome of what you've heard tonight and what facts have been brought about and what facts are going to be introduced, I understand we can still submit things for the next couple of weeks at least until this is over with. If those facts come together and they don't paint a pretty picture for this project, then things have to be changed. Project might have to be redesigned. Redesigning it might cause a delay in funding, might cause someone to end up holding the bag on this thing. But it's the right thing to do. So if somebody gets a black eye or looks a little bad because they planned something wrong, and what now comes to light as the construction has started, if that points to a bad project, we want that honestly to be brought forth in the next analysis. And I don't know what recourse we have if we get another one of the same type of analysis that we had before. We expect an honest report this time out, and that's the ammo I have is to just expect it. That's not much for me. I'm not going to sleep comfortably tonight. Thank you.
My name's Richard Bold. I'm a resident of St. Paul, lifelong resident of St. Paul. I'm very familiar with University Avenue. I grew up in this town, and I've seen drawings of the project that's proposed, and I really can't see what the benefit's going to be of putting this light rail through, removing several lanes of traffic, removing the parking, and then we're going to run a train down the middle. There's no, this very old street, there is no parking built for these buildings when they were put up. Like I said, a lot of these people are new businesses, young businesses, people starting out. They revitalized this area. When I was young, the whole University Avenue was pretty much vacant. Now it's starting to get some life pumped into it. We're going to go till up the ground and kill everything again. I just can't see that happening, and I really don't see the benefit of a train that does the same thing a bus does for a fraction of the money. So I just personally, I think this is just a bad idea right from the get-go. And that's my piece. Thank you.
Jeffrey Zrust. Jeffrey Zrust.
Could you spell your last name, please?
Z-R-U-S-T, from Capital City Auto Electric Company, 690 University. You know, my great uncle built that building back in 1930. It's been a family-owned business since then, and it's just stupid to run this stupid train down there. You can go down University any day. I was down there where the light rail, where they haven't tore it up yet, Dale and University, at about 5 o'clock. Traffic is backed up past my place, which is a block and a half down, and you're gonna actually rip this old avenue down and just just turn it into a mess. I mean, it is just crazy. Just to spend money is what you're doing.
Right, it's all about
You know,
money.
it's
What
ridiculous.
they want, line their pockets, they've been doing it for the last 25 years. They're eating good, not us.
Mr. Zuras has the floor, please.
You know, our company's gonna make it, but there's gonna be a ton of them that are gonna fold. And to say that you'll give us a $10,000 loan is a real slap in the face. I mean, you guys, you know, get it together. You know this is wrong. Thank you.
This officially closes the public hearing tonight, part 2. I've been asked for any of you who did read from written comments, if you'd like to share those with the front table here, we can get those verbatim into the record with the court reporter. So we invite you to leave a copy of those behind. And then just recapping before everybody packs up here, you can continue to submit comments up through March 31st, another couple of weeks. You can submit those via email to Catherine O'Brien. Can we put that slide up one last time, Chicago? You can send those via the old-fashioned mail to Catherine at the project office. You can call the comment line 651-602-1645. And we'll put that information up on the board if you want to make a note of that. Again, on behalf of Met Council, we thank all of you for taking your evening and your private and personal time to come and share with us your comments. Thank you very much. Good night.